Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We are in the kitchen again today, and today we're going to make another biscuit, but this time we're going to make a cheesy dill biscuit. These are a lot of fun and no more difficult to make than a regular biscuit, and the family will love them because they're nice and cheesy, and you can adjust the amount of cheese and dill based on your own personal preference. So let's get started. You're going to need a half a cup of shortening butter or margarine. My preference is for shortening, but you can use butter or margarine as well. It will change the flavor and texture a little bit, but whichever one you choose to use is just fine. Take a fork or a pastry cutter, and yes, mine's in the dishwasher again. You'll see it eventually. So give that kind of a smash. Remember, you don't want to overwork your doughs when you're working with biscuits because they get tough. You want 2 cups of flour. Get that in there. Smush that up. You just want to kind of cut through it with your fork, just so you kind of have a crumbly mixture. Okay, just like most biscuits, you want a little bit of a crumbly mixture, but you don't want to mix this until it's like completely smooth, because then you'll lose the texture of your biscuits. That's about good. See, kind of crumbly. So next we want to add 3 teaspoons of baking powder. That's what gives our biscuits their lift once they go in the oven. And while you're doing this, preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Mine's actually about to beep because it will have preheated to 450. There it goes. It's ready. You want to add half a teaspoon of salt. Any salt you've got is fine. That was just table salt, but you can use kosher or sea salt. It really doesn't matter. This is not a finicky recipe. Okay, next you want to add some dill. I like about a tablespoon, but you can do a teaspoon or 2 tablespoons. It's up to you. How much dill do you like? How dilly do you like your biscuits? It's really a very personal thing. About a tablespoon is good, but you can do more. You should be able to smell the dried dill. So if you can't smell the dried dill, you didn't add enough. So I've got about a tablespoon in here. There we go. Next we want some cheese. Now I'm using old cheddar cheese because old cheddar cheese has a really deep, rich flavor. It's much better than a regular cheddar, like a medium or even a light cheddar. You want something with a lot of flavor. So I like old cheddar cheese because you get a lot more flavor for the same amount. So you want to add a couple of handfuls, maybe a cup or so. You can go up or down based on your own personal preference. So about a cup, that's about a cup. You don't have to be exact. Remember, with the cheese and the dill, they're additions. You don't need to be specific. So give that a toss. Remember, about a cup of cheese. Hello, tequila. You're a very good dog. You are going to have biscuits, I promise. She's waiting for biscuits. She loves cheese biscuits. So our final ingredient here is going to be 3/4 of a cup of milk. You could do this with water. Trust me, it turns out better with milk. But you can do it with water if you don't have milk. So there you go. So once it's a little bit wet like this, you're going to now switch to using your hands. So clean off the fork and get your hand in there, because you need to fully incorporate all of this flour. So you see the flour on the sides and on the bottom. You want to get that rolled into your dough, but you don't want to overmix your dough. So what you want to do is use your hand. Don't use a mixer. Mixers will do too much mixing, and you don't want to ruin the texture. So gently use your hand and just get that flour incorporated. So use your dough to scrape the flour off the sides. There we go. Get that flour. So you're sort of kneading your dough like you would a bread dough to incorporate everything. But you don't want to get crazy and knead like crazy, because you do not want to destroy the texture and layers that form in a biscuit. And I'm wrecking my mat. There we go, that's better. So you can take it out and get all the bits onto your mat for an easier process here. Remember, no mixers. You want to be using your hand at this point. So let's just clean off my hand here. There we go. Okay. Okay, pick up all these bits so that our dough is not quite so sticky. There we are. Wondering what the clunk was there? That was my son is outside the window getting water for his pony. He loves his pony. We all love Shadowfax. He's fantastic. But he's not in here because this is the house and ponies don't belong in the house. Though he begs to differ. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. All right, so then what we want to do is get ourselves a rolling pin after we kind of press it down with our hands. So get yourself a rolling pin. I'm using this with the circles to tell me how deep my dough will be. And I want to go to about either a 1/2 inch or 3/8 of an inch, something like that. No thinner than that. You don't want this thin, because if it's thin, your biscuits are going to be thin and crackly. So just roll that out to about 3/8 of an inch is what I'm using. I'll put a link to this particular rolling pin and the pastry mat that goes with it because it's really helpful for biscuits because you can get just the right depth. There we go. Then you're going to want to take a biscuit cutter, and I'm going to have to pause the video and go get my biscuit cutter. No, I don't. It's over here in the bowl. Why did I put it in the bowl? Found it. So I'm using about a 3-inch biscuit cutter. You can use a smaller cutter if you like, but I like nice big biscuits because I love biscuits. So that's what we're going to do. Just like that. Cut as many as you can. And now you're going to need a pan. So I'm using the normal pan that I use. I'm using a copper liner. What you want to do is either, if you're not using a copper liner, you're going to want to grease the heck out of your pan, because what's going to happen here is they're going to stick. The cheese is going to melt and they're going to stick to the bottom. So you want something non-stick, either a non-stick pan, a non-stick liner. You want something that will allow you to get your biscuits off. So you want to place your biscuits on your pan so that they're pretty much touching. Okay, that helps them rise properly instead of going all over the pan. They will rise nice and straight. So get them touching if you can, because it works really well. And then get some of this dough. And then you just do the same with the remaining dough. You just roll it out again, cut some more biscuits. Once you've done that, you're going to bake this at 450 for 8 to 12 minutes, maybe 15, but probably not. Average is about 10 minutes. But watch your oven because it might be done at 10 minutes. It might be done at 8 minutes. You might need the full 12. So check your biscuits from the 8-minute mark on because these burn really easily, especially because there's cheese in them. So they'll burn really, really fast. So check at 8 minutes and then check about every minute after that because you do not want to burn your biscuits. So I'm going to finish cutting these and then I'll pop them in the oven and we'll come back as soon as these biscuits are cooked. And there you have it. Cheesy dill biscuits. These baked for 10 minutes and then I let them cool in the pan for 3 minutes before I removed them. Look at how delicious those are. Full of cheese, full of dill. Remember, you can increase or decrease both the dill and the cheese really as much as you want within reason. I wouldn't do more than 2 cups of cheese, but 1 cup works better because look at how cheesy that is. Isn't that perfect? I think that's perfect. So I hope you had fun making these cheesy dill biscuits with us today, and I hope you'll do this at home. They are guaranteed to be a crowd pleaser. We'll see you tomorrow.